my sister treated me like free childcare, so I showed her how expensive free really was. From the moment my older sister became pregnant, she decided that I should put a pause on my life to care for her child. Didn't matter if it was a holiday or my own wedding, being her babysitter took priority, and I needed to understand that. Trish's entitlement started before her baby even arrived. She showed up at my apartment one evening with this color-coded binder, the kind you'd expect from someone planning a corporate merger, not childcare. She flipped it open and started explaining my new babysitting schedule. Tuesday and Wednesday nights were my overnight shifts because those were her nights off. Fridays through Sundays I had the morning slot so she could sleep in. Christmas Day was marked in bright red with all-day coverage written across it in her neat handwriting. I actually laughed when I saw it, thinking it was some elaborate joke, but she didn't. Her face remained stone serious as she tapped the calendar with her manicured nail. "This isn't funny," she said, her voice sharp. "I need to know you're committed to this." The next week she posted on Facebook about how blessed she was to have family stepping up. She tagged me in this long post about how I'd already agreed to help raise her baby. My phone blew up with relatives commenting about what a wonderful aunt I was. Aunt Sarah wrote about how she wished she'd had such support when her kids were young. Cousin Mike's wife chimed in about the importance of family bonds. When I called her to ask what the hell she was thinking, she said Mom already knew about the arrangement, and Mom did know. She called me that night to remind me that family helps family, her voice carrying that particular tone of disappointment she'd perfected over the years. After the baby was born, things went from annoying to insane. When little Mason was 6 months old, Trish showed up at my office during a client presentation. Someone knocked on the conference room door and mouthed emergency. My stomach dropped, thinking something terrible had happened. That emergency turned out to be Trish in the lobby with Mason in his carrier. She was wearing designer sunglasses indoors and scrolling through her phone. She said perfect timing. Her appointment was in 20 minutes. What appointment? Her manicure. She just remembered how badly she needed one. She was out the door before I could process what happened, leaving me standing there with a baby and 12 confused clients staring through the glass conference room walls. But that wasn't even the final straw. You see, my best friend from college was getting married and I was her maid of honor. The venue was gorgeous, this restored barn with twinkling lights and white roses everywhere. But minutes before we were set to head inside, I heard crying from the parking lot. Me and everyone else turned to look, and there was Trish, pushing Mason's stroller across the gravel in her stilettos. She handed me a note that said, "Handle this, I have a date," and left. Mason was screaming. Everyone was looking at me like, what the hell? And that's when I noticed these finger-shaped bruises on Mason's arms for the first time. They were faint but unmistakable, little purple marks on his tiny forearms. I had to spend the wedding ceremony in the bathroom trying to comfort Mason. The acoustics made his cries echo off the tiles, and I could hear the muffled sounds of the vows through the door. As if this wasn't bad enough, my mother was practically Trish, just older. She started bringing Mason to my apartment unannounced. I'd come home from work to find her on my couch with him, my spare key somehow in her possession. The second she'd see me, she'd drop everything and leave. Didn't ask if it was convenient, didn't give me money for the formula and diapers I was constantly buying, just up and left. The worst part was how Mason flinched whenever someone moved too fast. He was clearly not taken care of properly. Always hungry, his clothes dirty more often than clean, diaper rash that never seemed to heal completely. Everything came to a head when I announced my trip to Germany. My fiancé proposed 8 months ago during his last visit, getting down on one knee in the snow outside the Christmas market, and we hadn't seen each other since. The distance was killing us, and I'd saved every penny to afford the trip, skipping lunches and working overtime for months. When I told family at our monthly dinner, Trish's response was immediate. She booked her own vacation for the same dates. She laughed during dinner, saying, "Guess I'd have to reschedule since she already put her deposit down." She showed everyone the confirmation email on her phone like it was some clever chess move. Mom nodded, saying family comes first, and I could see my fiancé anytime. They had my babysitting schedule all planned out, discussing it over pot roast like I wasn't even there. I remember being furious, my hands shaking as I set down my fork, and for the first time ever, I said no. I wasn't watching the kid. I had my own life to live. I should have known from how quickly they said that was fine and they'd find someone else they had something planned. The way they exchanged glances should have been my warning. I didn't hear from them until the morning of my flight. I woke at 4:47 to blood-curdling screams outside my door. I was terrified, my heart pounding as I grabbed my phone to call 911, so I walked to the door in my pajamas slowly. I opened the letter slot and peeked through it, and that's when I saw it. It was Mason, alone on my doorstep in just a diaper and t-shirt. The porch light illuminated his tear-streaked face. I opened the door and saw the note taped to his shirt. "Thanks for watching him." I was shocked. I took Mason in and felt how freezing he was. His lips actually tinged blue.